I was a kid, Sonic the Hedgehog didn't even exist, and Mario was just that prick that bothered monkeys. Back in the 80s in the UK, the ultimate gaming mascot was an egg! Dizzy first appeared in 1987 on Spectrum, Commodore 64, and the best one, the Amstrad CPC, in the self-described Ultimate Cartoon Adventure, willfully ignoring everything created to date by animation studios such as Warner Brothers and Disney. Dizzy, not Disney, is a sentient egg tasked with creating a remedy for Athlete's Foot, which could also kill wizards. Yes, really. He was an egg for no other reason than it was a simple enough shape to rotate without distortion in the Oliver Twins' own graphics software. Like all eggs, he existed to solve puzzles. He could only carry one thing at a time though, but that's still one more thing than I've ever seen any other egg carry, so well done, Dizzy. Despite on paper being total shit, it wasn't. Dizzy did great, and a sequel was ordered by publishers Codemasters. 1988's Treasure Island Dizzy, that's what I said, made things easier by tripling the number of items the egg could carry, but then immediately tripled the difficulty by giving the player only one life. That wasn't the original plan, but they'd left a bug in the game with a snorkel where, if you dropped it while you were underwater, you drowned and then couldn't get back underwater to retrieve it. So, rather than spend time fixing the issue and missing out on that sweet Christmas $88, they just changed it, so you had to complete the entire thing with one life. Bastards. The sequel and all subsequent games were also released for the 16-bit Atari ST and Amiga, which, like all things in the 80s, was rad. The third in the series, 1989's Fantasy World Dizzy, gave you back your 3 lives and improved the inventory system, and that's why it is the best one, don't at me. It's also where we finally got to meet the Yolkfolk: Daisy, his girlfriend, Dylan the Stoner, Grand Dizzy, the old one, Denzel, the cool egg, and Dozy, who was tired. Hard for us all to imagine a world without them now. Prior to Fantasy World Dizzy being released, the Oliver Twins had experimented with building the Dizzy brand with a spin-off game, Fast Food Dizzy. Its single-screen arcade-style gameplay meant it was far quicker to make than one of their intricate puzzle adventures, and so it fed the demand for Dizzy while the next adventure was being developed. It did well enough to spawn another foodie follow-up, Quick Snacks, despite being total gash. Fast Food Dizzy had originally been intended as a branded game featuring the mascot of roadside restaurateurs, Happy Eater. It was probably lucky the deal fell through though, because it's possible someone at Namco might have more easily spotted the similarity between Fast Food Dizzy and Pac-Man. At least the follow-up Quick Snacks didn't rip off Pac-Man. It ripped off Pengo instead. Unless you had it on the C64, in which case Quick Snacks was an entirely different game for I have absolutely no idea why. By this point, the Oliver Twins were increasingly busy, so the fourth Dizzy game, 1991's Magic Land Dizzy, was developed by Big Red Software, albeit under the Twins' guidance, as was 1992's Spellbound Dizzy. That one was way bigger than the previous games, apparently bigger than Fantasy and Magic Land combined, and without the ability to save progress, possibly the point at which completing the games in a single sitting became too big an ask for kids who already had a hectic schedule of roller skating and pogs. Big Red really did squeeze every drop of yolk out of the brand in 1991, also releasing the next Dizzy arcade-style game, Panic Dizzy, or Dizzy Panic, depending on the platform. Even the developers didn't seem sure what to call it. But it wasn't all egg, egg, egg. They also released an alternative adventure title, Seymour Goes to Hollywood, also known as Seymour at the Movies. However, it turns out this was actually intended as the next Dizzy game, but the Oliver Twins didn't like the idea of bringing their egg into the real world. After all, that would be weird. So, despite the game being 90% complete, they had to rebrand, swapping the egg for a potato because that'll do, won't it? Less egg, 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 more egg, egg, potato, is the saying. The much smaller Prince of the Yolkfolk, also by Big Red, and the second Dizzy adventure of 1991, was arguably a much more traditional title. Referred to by fans as the sixth in the series, despite being the fifth to be released, because why bother doing anything properly, it was originally an exclusive on the Dizzy's Excellent Adventures compilation, which I have, because I am the best. The fact they had the strength of character to resist calling this Dizzy's Excellent Adventures both pleases and bemuses me in equal measure. You liked the box, didn't you? I've got all of them! There was a second adventure in 1992 as well, Crystal Kingdom Dizzy, but this one was developed neither by the twins nor Big Red. Codemasters, obviously aware of the huge value of Dizzy to their business and that Christmas was the best time to release games, got another team working on this one. But by 1992, gaming had moved forwards and Dizzy's puzzle adventures really hadn't. Combined with their decision to make this the first $9.99 full price release rather than the previous game's budget couple of quid, despite it not really being a bigger game in any notable regard, it was to be the last of the Dizzy games. Where were the Oliver twins when Dizzy needed them? Well, actually, they were hard at work on attempting to replicate his computing success on consoles. Fantastic Dizzy was intended to release on the NES and other consoles in time for Christmas 1990, the year after they'd released the last computer adventure they led on, Fantasy World Dizzy. But Fantastic Dizzy got held up due to Codemasters getting tangled up in a court case involving the Game Genie versus Nintendo. Eventually, Fantastic Dizzy saw the light of day, but despite being a greatest hits of many puzzles from the originals, Dizzy failed to compete in the world of Mario and Sonic. Several of the minigames created for Fantastic Dizzy did find their way back to the budget computer games though, including Bubble Dizzy and Dizzy Down the Rapids. Consoles also got Go Dizzy Go, a Quick Snacks variant, and Dizzy the Adventurer, an adaptation of Prince of the Yolkfolk, but the egg never stuck on consoles, and it wasn't long before the twins and Codemasters went their separate ways. With Dizzy's IP split 50-50 between the two, this effectively ended Dizzy. Or did it? Well, mostly, yeah. In 2011, Prince of the Yolkfolk did get ported to smartphones, and in 2012 there was an attempt at a new title, Dizzy Returns, but it failed to get off the ground when it sourced less than 10% of its required Kickstarter funding. However, the brilliant, albeit seemingly tight-fisted fan community, joking, then rallied around the Oliver twins to help complete and release two unfinished NES titles, Wonderland Dizzy, an adaptation of Magic Land with an Alice in Wonderland theme, in 2015, and Mystery World Dizzy, an adaptation of Fantasy World, in 2017, both as cartridges and to be downloaded for free online as ROMs or even played in browser. You can go and play them right after this video. Links in the description. There's even an NES version of Panic Dizzy being released in 2019, and prior to that, Dreamworld Pogi, an arcade game where you controlled the Yolkfolk's pet fluffle, Pogi. At which point I'll stop, because Yolkfolk's pet fluffle Pogi doesn't make any sense. Although I would just like to say that I was the host for the announcement of Wonderland Dizzy in 2015, and I'd like to say that because it's one of the proudest moments of my life. It's possible I'm a nerd. And that concludes the last one of these I'll be doing for a while. I have spoken.